Hello and welcome to our first Local Governance and Community Development Live Forum for 2025. Clarendon Strong, Disaster Preparedness, Hazard Mitigation and Safety, brought to you in partnership with the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. In this episode, we'll break down the key roles of the Disaster Preparedness, Hazard Mitigation and Safety Committee, led by Councillor Joel Williams, and Acting Disaster Preparedness Coordinator, Stacy-Ann Henningham. We're going to be exploring practical ways to strengthen our communities and keep Clarendon safe. As always, we invite you to share your views and ask your questions in the comments. This is your space to engage with your local authority. And with that being said, I am your host, Winsome Sherrill Whittle. Let's get started on this important journey towards resilience and readiness. And we can't get started before we bring on our chairman for the Disaster Preparedness Committee in the person of Councillor Joel Williams and our acting Disaster Preparedness Coordinator, Stacy-Ann Henningham. Welcome back, Sir Williams, and welcome, Lady Henningham. How long ago did you start at CMC?
About 5.5 months ago.
All right. So you're new to the Serenity Resource Connector space, and we're happy that we'll get to show you off to the rest of Clarendon and those Clarendonians in the diaspora, so they know who is holding the fort in that capacity. All right, let's get started looking at the roles and function. Councillor Chairman Williams, can you outline for us the primary roles and functions of the Disaster Preparedness, Hazard Mitigation and Safety Committee?
Good evening to you again, Madam Moderator, and to the viewers and those who are on the platform with us. And of course, to my coordinator, Ms. Henningham, who is getting our baptism this evening. And and if I'm not mistaken, Madam Moderator, I think she would have been baptized during burial. Am I correct?
No, we had another
No?
acting.
No, okay. But she was very involved, I think, during burial. Yes, so our role and responsibility, primary role and responsibility of this committee is to make sure that at all times we have the parish in a state of readiness as it relates to disaster. We have to make sure that all the nuts and bolts are in place. We have to make sure that all the team players, the various government entities that work along with us, are fully au fait with the latest program that we're working with, and must have the municipality in a state of readiness, whether it be for earthquake or whether it be for hurricane, by having constant meeting with these stakeholders and to keep them up to date in terms of training, in terms of every sense of the word of preparedness, so that if and when we have a disaster, we're able to be on good footing in terms of giving support to the various communities and to the people who might be affected.
All right. So, Lady Henningham, what support do you lend to the committee in your role as disaster coordinator?
All right. Good evening again, moderator and viewers. My role as the disaster coordinator, I'm very vital in carrying out the disaster risk management mandate. My primary role is to coordinate all activities relating to preparedness, prevention, mitigation, and response against disasters. I am also responsible for ensuring that I monitor all preparedness activities in the parish and also ensuring that adequate emergency response plans are in place for the parish.
All right. Quite a bit, especially during the hurricane season, which is most of the year. And last year, you had a long stretch, right?
It was extremely long.
Yes. And with all of that, community engagement is crucial, as we have been highlighting in all of these discussions. So what strategies are being used now to engage with communities and raise awareness about disaster preparedness outside of this forum?
Okay, our community engagement is critical to building resilience in the parish, and we use a number of strategies, some of which is done through public education, which includes workshops and training, drills and simulation exercises, meetings and consultations with communities, different communities. It is also, we use the strategy of establishing and strengthening the capacity of our community disaster risk management groups and also our community emergency response teams. In addition to that, we use technology in the mix as well. And this is where we provide the community and the parish in general with live updates and information on matters relating to disaster.
All right, and we have so many communities rather, across the parish. What have you found to be the most ideal way of engaging with these different communities?
The most ideal way for me is through meetings, trainings, and workshops.
Okay, fantastic. Can you share any specific examples of successful community initiatives that's been led by the committee?
All right, we have had a number of successful initiatives. Some notable ones include, we recently had a business continuity workshop. And this is where we invited several businesses from across the parish to participate in the workshop, and it was very successful. We have had the upgrading of several shelters across the parish, the most recent of which is the Portland Cottage Primary School, the Rocky Point Community Center, and the Buckner Community Center. In addition, we have installed floodgates at the Alley Bridge. We have done some installation of some flood signs in Annan Town. We also did an earthquake and tsunami drill in Milk River and Rocky Point, and we did some installation of some tsunami signs in Milk River. And those are the most recent initiatives done by the corporation in collaboration with ODPEM, International Organization for Migration, and the Red Cross.
All right, and I'm glad you ended that juncture, because now for the chairman, we want to talk about stakeholders, because what can you do as a committee without your stakeholders? So how does the committee collaborate with local stakeholders, such as our schools, our businesses, and NGOs, that's our non-governmental organizations, to enhance disaster preparedness and mitigation efforts? Councillor.
There's no doubt that we could not survive without our stakeholders. And you know, if I may just reel off some of those stakeholders, you have the Poor Relief Department, you have Jamaica Public Service Company, you have the fire, you have National Water Commission, Social Development Commission. All of these entities are our stakeholders who played a very, very important role in the workings of this committee, especially when we have disasters. What we would have done last year, just before and if I may just back up, Madam Moderator, my deputy co-chair would have been the Custos, the Honorable Edith Chin. So we would have had last year in our preparation, like I think we started our preparation a month before the hurricane season steps in. And we would have had all our stakeholders on board. You would have heard me list a few of them earlier on. We would have had them on board. We would have had a meeting and instead get a state of readiness from each of these stakeholder groups as to where they are in preparation for the hurricane season. So when the hurricane season came on us that early last year, we were 95% ready and prepared for what was what was to come. Outside of that, we would have also had, in terms of our readiness, we would have also had a number of other community members as it relates to shelter managers, persons who had responsibility for managing the shelters along with us. We'd have had our own team at the municipal corporation that would manage from this end and coordinate in the field with what is happening and feedback to us at the central point at the corporation. So those are some of the persons who we would have had to interact with, and to make sure that we would have been able to pass out the information to the various communities and to receive information from the various communities during a hurricane. But we are going beyond that now, because as I've said to a group earlier on this week, not the hurricane, but the earthquake is like a silent killer. We know we are pre-warned when a hurricane is coming. We're not warned when an earthquake is coming. So more so, I want to commend the acting disaster preparedness coordinator, Ms. Henningham, for the tremendous job that she's now doing in terms of preparing the schools, preparing various communities, having enlightening them what to expect when if we do have an earthquake, and how they are to prepare themselves. And I believe that would put us in good stead in the parish for any eventuality, whether it be the earthquake, whether it be the hurricane, whether it be fire, etc. Any form of disaster. She's doing a fantastic job now in preparing the parish for any eventuality, as I've said before.
Keep up the awesome work, Lady Henningham. All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. We have some of our youth leaders on. Please to represent your organization in the comments. Let's know which of the youth organizations are on now. I know that our youth mayor is on. Tejan, welcome. And for the others, please indicate which of the youth organizations are on. Councillor, are there specific opportunities for community members or organizations to actively contribute to these efforts? Talk to our young leaders and other organizations.
Indeed, we always welcome more hands on deck. And I would say, if there are organizations out there, community leaders who want to be a part of what we're doing, just reach out to myself or Ms. Henningham at the Municipal Corporation, and we will find space for you to help, because it cannot be too many hands on deck at any time as it relates to a disaster. We need the knowledge, because there are some times when you might know something that I don't know, and you might be able to pass on those information that just enhance what we're doing or what we're setting out to do. So yes, we need all hands on deck. So if you're out there and you're excited about what we're doing, we're saying to you, welcome, and we will find a space for you.
All right. Ms. Henningham, any specific activity comes to mind that our young leaders can look forward to participating in?
Any specific activities?
Right, or role or function?
I would encourage them. I would encourage them to become involved and support their communities, the community disaster risk management group in their respective community. That's always a start.
All right. Is there a list of,
We have
do you have a
several,
list
we
of
have
those groups?
about 12. We
Okay.
have about 12 community disaster risk management groups across the parish, and they can start by supporting and being active in those community disaster risk management groups.
Do you have a list of those communities that you could share? That would be
Yes, I do.
helpful. Go ahead and share that we can capture that for the blog recap.
Okay.
Do you have them ready now? Or we can share them later. All right, you can look for that. Let's continue.
Can they be shared in the chats? Can they be shared in the chats?
No, we'll share them live so that it can be captured for the blog. All right, but we can share them later on, no problem. Let's talk challenges and opportunities with the chairman. We'll take those later on, Ms. Henningham. So just pull the information together so we can share it live. For those who might not be able to read, we can let them hear what's being said. Right, we have to be mindful.
Well, in anything you do, you're going to have challenges.
Yes, right.
To that aspect of it, we have to just prepare, because this committee is one that we constantly learn.
Yeah.
You come across new issues every day, as we try to improve on what we are doing. We seek at all times to deal with those issues that are challenges. And yes, those challenges, we have to overcome them in order to achieve the objective. So yes, we have those challenges are always something that we have to face. Team, we work together.
One that comes to mind?
Sometimes the challenges you face in the field is, it is not always easy. It get the kind of support you want when you're on the ground.
We lost you a while ago.
When you're on the ground, especially, no, I said, not able to get the kind of support that you need, because people are different in the behavior pattern are different in the various different communities. So that is one of the biggest issues you have to deal with when you are facing a crisis, when you're facing a disaster. Right. Because people behave differently in different. So you have to be patient. You have to be able to communicate in such a way that you can get across to them.
Indeed.
For them to understand clearly how you're trying to help them and what you're trying to do to make sure that their circumstances in those moments are much better.
Fantastic. And I would imagine that the other stakeholders would be able to offer some additional support in those instances, right?
Yes.
So that's why collaboration is so important, right?
Yeah, right. You have the issue. Let's take, for example, the last two challenges we have with hurricane. We had water issue. You have issue with electricity. A man wants to charge his phone and he can't get it, and he get irritable and that kind of thing. And so I have to give kudos to Ms. Henningham, to the team on the ground, those persons who are shelter managers who have to interact. It is not it's not easy. And so I am looking. I have had this discussion with the CEO, and we're looking to see how we can, these individuals who are shelter managers, who are out there with us in the field, we're looking to see how we can say to them, hey, we want to show you that we appreciate what you have done, for you to give up your home, for you to give up your space, whether it be, well, thank God we have not had attest with an earthquake thus far in that kind of way. But in terms of hurricane, we have. And I want to say kudos to those individuals who have spent nights upon nights, weeks upon weeks at shelters, giving support to individuals. Some of these individuals, they don't even know them.
Selflessness.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
And I think at some point in time, we will be showing our appreciation to them for what they've been doing, especially in this time now when we are having more and more hurricane more frequently. Not like
Right.
years ago when it's would be just once in probably a year or
Yes.
2 or 3 years before you have an hurricane. Now they are coming frequently. So we want to thank them, and I want to use this platform, use this opportunity to say thank you very much, and we're going to find a way to show some appreciation for what you have been doing for the people of Clarendon.
Indeed. And the theme this evening is aptly stated, Clarendon Strong, because that's what makes us strong, the ability
Exactly.
to collaborate and execute and to demonstrate our appreciation of the efforts of others who give up their comfort, their convenience to make life a little easier for our brothers and sisters. Amazing. All right. What opportunities exist for innovative approaches or partnerships to improve disaster preparedness in our parish?
I think there's a lot of opportunity that exists out there. We have, I give you, for example, we have persons who are living overseas who would call, who would say, what can we do to help? I have persons who had reached out and said, hey, look, we know that you're having challenges in your health sector at the hospital. We're going to be donating X. We're going to, right now I have someone in the UK who sees our situation here, Clarendonian, and he called me recently to say to me, Mayor, I have already identified 15 beds for the Maypen Hospital, and I'm still looking some more. So these are opportunities. People see these or look at our issues, decided where they can jump in and help. And you know, it can only argue as well for the Disaster Preparedness Committee and for those of us who are on the ground doing the work, realize that we alone can't do it. We needed help, and person sees the opportunities and decided to you know, come in and to give us the assistance that we need.
Fantastic. So for those of you in the diaspora who is watching this, whether live or replay, there you hear of an opportunity where you too can be a part of the changes that you want to see taking place in your parish, Clarendon. So we've heard about the roles and functions of the committee and the officer, the disaster preparedness. We've heard about community engagement, how they've been engaging community, stakeholder collaboration. We have heard about the challenges and the opportunities. Now let's go into some practical tips and resources. Lady Henningham, what practical tips or resources can community members use to prepare for disasters more effectively?
Okay. So Clarendon is one of the most vulnerable parishes in the country. One of the most vulnerable parishes in the country. And the key to building resilience is preparation. So the most practical tips that can be used by residents to prepare for any form of disaster is to create a disaster or emergency. Yes. Is to create a disaster and an emergency plan. And this plan should include like your emergency contact information, your meeting points, plan for the vulnerable, people with special needs, the elderly, and so on. You also need to create and maintain an emergency kit. In this kit should include your medication, your first aid kit, food for about 72 hours, water, candles, portable radio, batteries, flashlights, etc. Know the nearest emergency shelter to where you're living. It is important to know the nearest emergency shelter and the evacuation route to get to the shelter in times of disaster. It's also important to make an inventory of your possessions and store important documents. Secure your property by reinforcing buildings or structures on your property, trimming trees, cleaning your yard from debris, and drain of debris. Stay informed, listen to the various media outlets, and it's also important for persons to volunteer. Volunteerism is very important. You can always support the Jamaica Red Cross, or like I said earlier, the community disaster risk management groups.
All right, some practical tips there. What about the kits that they need to have? What do they need to have in those kits? What we should be putting together now at this point? Emergency kits.
I stated earlier that you should have food, water,
Okay.
medication, your portable radio, candles, flashlight, and a medical kit as well.
All right, I missed some of
But if I may just add though, Madam Moderator, where they fail to do to have those items with them, the municipal corporation is always standing ready. If those are not in the centers where they are, then we provide those critical needs that the citizen are supplies that they do need.
Okay. All right. And the Ministry of Labor and Social Security also partners in that regard as well.
Indeed.
Right?
Yes, indeed.
All right. I'm learning also, so all right. So I trust that you're all learning as well, the different entities that are involved. All right, Lady Henningham. So let's continue by sharing that list of communities across Clarendon that where the groups are.
The community disaster risk management groups.
Right.
So there is a group in Rocky Point. There's Rocky Point, Portland Cottage, Milk River, Mitchelltown, Tweedside, Kellits, Crooked River, Four Paths, Rock River, Thompson Town, Annan Town, and Peckham.
Which of the 4 paths? Is that 4 paths Denby?
4 paths going to Osborne Store side, not Denby 4 paths, yes.
Okay, we have to be clear because we have 2. All right, so that's 4 paths Denby.
Yes. Sorry about
All
that.
right, thank you for that. All right, so are there any upcoming programs, training sessions, or resources that our audience should be aware of as we gear up? The year is already almost at the end of the first month, so we have to start gearing up from now. What's on the agenda where?
So we are still in Earthquake Awareness Month. We're still in Earthquake Awareness Month, and so earthquake drills and sensitization sessions is still ongoing, and those are done in schools, institutions, and business places. In another 2 months, thereabout, we should be having like our shelter managers training and our emergency operations center training for volunteers.
All right.
But if I may just said, Madam Moderator, if I may just add, because over the years, I don't think we as a country have been putting enough emphasis on the importance of preparation for earthquake. As I said, because it is not so pronounced as an hurricane coming. We tend to be laid back, not doing much about it unless it comes upon us. And then all of us get panicked. And so again, I want to use the opportunity to commend Ms. Henningham for the job that she's now doing in terms of in the schools, at the community level, preparing people, saying, hey, you are not warned when an hurricane is coming, when an earthquake is coming. So I am preparing you. So when it comes, you can be in a state of readiness. And that one cannot be underemphasized.
All right. Fantastic job. Keep it up. All right. Let's continue looking ahead, and remember that you can ask your questions and share your concerns, your views in the comments. I see you all over on Instagram. For those on Facebook, YouTube, thank you for tuning in, whether you're live or watching the replay. So go ahead and share if you have questions. We'll take those in a little while. So we've looked at all that's in place now. Looking ahead, Chairman, what are the committee's long-term goals for improving disaster resilience within the parish?
Well, our long-term goal is to continue to build on what we have now, and as we can only build to become more stronger. We cannot let up on what we're doing, because more and more with climate changes, we are facing more and more challenges each day as it relates to what is happening around us in our environment. And so we don't have any time to lose focus. We have to stay focused on this issue and to make sure that whatever the eventualities might be, we are ready and are able to act, and act in a very decisive way, so that we're in a position to make sure that our citizens are protected if and when those disaster would have struck us.
All right. With that being said, how can the Sorrento Resource Connector audience or community support those efforts?
How can they
support the goals that you are looking to achieve in terms of continuing to build on what's there?
Well, we have to continue to do the interaction we're now doing, to keep them in the loop, to educate and to motivate, because it's easy for persons to lose sight of the real focus. So we have to continue the training, the interaction in the various communities, is by educating that you're going to be able, or that we are going to be able to keep them in the loop, so to speak, and so that they're in a position not to fall off or not to lose sight, but to stay focused. So the word is the municipal corporation and the Disaster Preparedness Committee. We have to make sure that it's an ongoing process. We don't have any time to lose sight. We have to continue to roll out, to work. The community must see us in their face every day until it comes to their head why this is so important.
Indeed.
We have to repeat it over and over and over.
That's right.
Because if you don't, continue engagement. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to lose them along the way.
That's right. So what are some of the questions that our community should be asking their local representatives to ensure disaster readiness in their space?
Well, some of the questions they must ask us: are the drains clean? Some of the challenges we know that they're facing is the poor housing stock. How do we help them to improve on those? How do we help them by saying to them, hey, you have to be more cognizant of how you manage your own health? Because when you go out there, you have a lot of people with different kind of diseases. Disease in the sense that they're not diabetes, high blood pressure. How do we help them to improve on all of these issues so that they're in a position to, when a disaster comes, they are not our hospital are not overflooded
Yes.
with persons who are falling ill because of their health conditions. Because you and I know that a lot of that is now happening. We have a lot of persons who are coming down with those illnesses, and as I said before, it's only by connecting all the dots, because it's not just about the preparedness for the hurricane or for the or for the um or for the earthquake. It's much
Right.
more than that, because if they are not healthy, and when we have these challenges, as I said, our health service is going to be overburdened. So
Indeed.
it's a wider net than we would have
Yes,
think
because
about.
right, because many people might be wondering what chairman talking about medical conditions and all of that.
Yeah,
All of these are intertwined, and which is why the stakeholder engagement is so important, having the
very important. Yeah.
right stakeholders at the table. And Lady Mar, welcome, saying very well said. And let's bring on back Ms. Henningham to give you your virtual roses. Eleanor is saying you're to keep up the great work, Mayor and Ms. Henningham. And Marie Thomas, good job, Ms. Henningham. All right. Fantastic. And for those who are looking on, a number of our representatives from the municipal corporation and the other organizations who come into this space. This is really, as Mayor said, baptism for them in terms of this
Yeah.
kind of engagement. And so we're happy to facilitate this kind of exchange where you can engage with them directly. Because otherwise, with all the work that she's doing behind the scene, you might not see her. I've been to the office on a number of occasions, and I can't remember seeing Miss Henningham.
She's on the road.
Always out, right?
Always
Yes.
on the road.
Yes. So this is another reason why this is important, so that we can familiarize ourselves with the people who are doing the work and
Yeah.
show our support. All right.
Who are doing the heavy lifting?
The heavy lifting. All right.
Yes, yes,
Kim
yes.
over on Instagram is saying, well done, Miss Henningham, good presentation. All right, so the commendations are coming in. All right, how can residents provide feedback or report concerns related to disaster preparedness and safety? Mayor.
Well, the municipality is always open. You can call the CEO. You can call myself. You can call Miss Henningham, and she will provide those numbers. As I said, we're always open for business, and that business is to make sure that the parish of Clarendon stays healthy. Uh, when we have a disaster, we can move quickly and mitigate against any suffering, and to make sure that we are on top of the game. So yes, we are, as I said, I use the word, we are open for business. We don't have all the answers, and so we depend on the public. If you have a good recommendation that you want to pass on to us, our doors are open for you to get those recommendations to us, so that we can build on what we have.
Fantastic. And Devonta is leading the way from our young leaders. Awesome discussion, he says. How do I, as a young person, I love that, sign up to be a part of these community voluntary groups to respond in the time of disaster?
Well, I would say that those individual get in touch with us at the council, and of course, Ms. Henningham will put you into, wherever you live, can put you into contact with those individuals at the various community levels.
Indeed, Mayor. Indeed.
So if there isn't an organized group in their respective community, then you will connect them to what, the closest one to them?
Well, we can possibly use them to start a group in their community.
All right, you heard that, Devonta?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for
Because
offering your
we
services.
want to create young leaders also, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you might start at your community level, and then you might become the mayor, you might become Miss Henningham. Yes,
All right. You never know. You
you
never
never
know.
know.
Right.
Yes.
Tejan, your youth councils are all good? No questions from you? All right, we're taking questions now. Now is your opportunity to ask your questions if you're on. Feel free to ask your questions as we continue to share in this regard. We were talking earlier, Mayor, as you mentioned, in terms of health, because these are some of the things that we don't immediately think about when we think
Ah, yeah,
about preparation for disaster.
yeah,
And
yeah.
right, and I think last year we had a conversation with the municipal corporation and a representative from our local health department to show how that all comes together and some of the things that persons are to look at. So we can look at the recap of that recording, and we'll try to do more engagement with the local authority to help protect, because right now there are high cases as it relates to influenza, the common, well,
Correct.
flu,
Yes.
the flu
Yeah.
virus, and for those who are asthmatic, a lot of these challenges, and it compounds the already overcrowding that we experience from time to time at the hospital. And so this is one of the reasons why we have to have this continued conversation so we understand the space that we're operating in and the importance of disposing of your garbage properly. So
Exactly.
even if the drains are cleaned, if we continue to do the illegal dumping and just tossing your trash just about
In the
anywhere,
gullies. Yes.
right? So may I speak to that aspect for me as it relates to how that by being good citizens, we can help to mitigate the problems of that nature. Speak to that for us, Mayor.
Yeah, I say I put it to you this way because not many persons would probably believe that disaster is just about hurricane and hurricane and earthquake. It's much more than that. You spoke earlier on to the fact that we are now suffering a bout of influenza. Now, you can imagine if that is not controlled, you will end up with a situation where your hospital is overburdened with persons coming in for health service. That is in itself is a disaster.
Yes.
That is in itself is a disaster. So these are some of the things that we have to mitigate against. We have to make sure that we do all that is necessary, make sure the gullies are clean, make sure that those critical areas of our communities, the disposal of the garbage, and all of these issues. Persons who are raising animals within communities that are built up communities, all of these can create issues that create disaster for us. So it's not just the hurricane and the, as I've said before, and the earthquake. There's there are wider issues out there that can create disaster for us. And so we as a municipal corporation, we're looking on these issues from a wider perspective to make sure we do our best to mitigate against them before they are upon us.
All right. And that explains why it's disaster preparedness, hazard mitigation, and safety. So we have to
Yeah.
make sure, because we don't want the viewers to leave here thinking that all we're talking about is hurricane, and we're just thinking about hurricane season,
Right.
when the earthquake coming and all of that. There are
Right.
other hazards around us.
Right.
The burning of rubbish in built-up areas.
Yeah.
That's another hazard as well. Would that
Yes.
fall under the committee?
Yes. Yeah. It creates issues for person who suffers from respiratory issues, problems.
That's right.
So, it is a wide subject. It's a wide
Indeed.
subject area. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we have some students here, so we want to make sure that when they leave, they're able to write a good paper when they talk about
Right.
hazards and safety. What are some of these things? Because I can
Yeah.
remember from high school, we used to get these questions, but I think they are getting more sophisticated questions now.
Yeah.
About climate
Yeah.
change. All right,
Yes.
Tejan,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Brilliant discussion thus far. I'm happy there is an emphasis on health. However, is there any contingency if any epidemic suddenly occurs? All right, that's yours, Mayor.
That's mine?
Any, yes, any contingency. Your youth mayor is asking if there's any contingency if any epidemic suddenly occurs as it relates to health.
Well, the contingency would be that you have to prepare and don't wait on those issues to come up on you. What does that mean? And what do I mean by that? It simply means because if your immune system, and we're going back to health again, because we're trying to deal with the mitigation. If your immune system is not ready, then you're going to be caught flat-footed. No, it simply means that we have to try our best as a nation, as a people, to eat properly. To make sure that some of the things that we're putting in our bodies today, we desist from doing so. Because anything you do in what I said, anything you do overdo can um, can harm you. So we have to look at it from that perspective. If I may use the word that we have to get wise up now as a people because we see what is happening around us. If you just go down to the Mapen Hospital now, there are days when they can't find beds to put patients. So you understand the point that I'm trying to bring across. That in itself can be a disaster for us in the parish.
Indeed. And
So,
yes, go ahead.
you go ahead.
All right. I was
So,
about to say that this is one of the areas in the parish development plan. I remember clearly
yeah,
that one about health.
yeah,
And
yeah,
what we're seeking to do as a parish is to educate our citizens so that they can exercise prevention control. And that's part of
right,
the contingency, Tejan, in terms of preventative. And I think that's what the health service is focusing on now, preventative health care, as opposed
yes.
to being responsive. So the whole
Mhm,
matter of education and doing the testing up front so that you know
mhm.
what your status is and what you need to do to control. Preparation is indeed the best contingency, well
The
articulated.
best can. My mother used to say prevention is better than cure.
That
Yeah.
is
So let us prevent rather than have to try to cure it.
indeed, and it's I
Yeah.
believe it's cheaper to
Yeah.
prevent than purchasing the cure. We might not even have
Right.
the power to do that.
True.
All
True.
right. Yes, fantastic. So as we move closer to the top of the hour, if you have other questions, now is your opportunity to ask. While Ms. Henningham shares her final thoughts with us, what's your final thoughts for the viewers, Lady Henningham? Are you heading into a specific school? If there's a group that wants you to come in and engage, how can they reach out to you? Do you have space on the calendar for those engagements? You're muted.
I have space on my calendar for further engagement. I have a few institutions coming up next week for drills and sensitization sessions. I can be reached at 876-853-1407. And remember, Clarendon is one of the most vulnerable parishes, and preparation, in order to build a more resilient parish, preparation is key, and every resident should play their part. Thank you.
Well said. And our chairman for the Disaster Preparedness Hazard Mitigation and Safety Committee, Councillor Joel Williams, your final thoughts to our viewers as we
Final thought is to say to the people of Clarendon, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. And doing the things that are necessary, keep our community clean, keep our garbage, and all the other issues that can mitigate against our health and create another disaster outside of the hurricane and the earthquake. I believe that we would be, as a parish, on our way to live longer, live without some of the diseases that we're facing that are challenging us now, and to make sure that the parish become the parish that other persons would want to come to live and to enjoy. I believe we have that within us. Can do it.
Indeed. All right, so let me share with our viewers what you would have missed. We started highlighting the work of the committees and the supporting administrative arm in September of 2024. So we would have had engagement with the infrastructure and traffic management chair, Councillor Clive Mundell, and the acting chief engineering officer, Clevan Watson. We covered the Civic and Community Affairs Committee with Chair Councillor Tanya Lee Williams, supported by the Community Programs Coordinator, Shanique Samuels. And we also did the Commercial Services and Divestment Committee, chaired by Councillor Colin Henry, supported by our Local Economic Development Officer, Kimberly Ashley. And all of those discussions are available in the playlist, the Local Governance and Community Development playlist. And you should see the link there by tomorrow. Once you go there, you should see the link to access that. I think it's in the description as well. And we are looking this evening at Disaster Preparedness, Hazard Mitigation and Safety Committee, chaired by Councillor Joel Williams, supported by our Disaster Preparedness Coordinator, Stacy-Ann Henningham. And coming up next on the agenda, on fourth Thursdays, we have our local governance segment. We are going to be looking at public health and sanitization, or is it sanitation? Public health and sanitation, chaired by Councillor Winston Maraj, supported by the CEO, Ron Blake. So that's what's coming up next on the Local Governance and Community Development Live Forum here at Sorrento Resource Connector. But before that, we have several other forums. We have expanded beyond Thursdays because the slots are full, and we're now doing Tuesdays. So you want to look out for the updates. The information is there. We'll share the monthly schedule so you can see what comes up each week. Let me thank you again, Councillor Joel Williams, Chairman for the Disaster Preparedness, Hazard Mitigation and Safety Committee, and our acting Disaster Preparedness Coordinator, Stacy-Ann Henningham, a little tongue twister there, for sharing with us this evening. And let me thank you, our viewers, live, whether you are joining us on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. Thank you for joining and for being a part of this important discussion on disaster preparedness, hazard mitigation, and safety. And we heard that it's much more than the hurricane and the earthquakes. We have disaster looming around us daily, just by our daily habits. And so we have to be mindful of these things. And so we hope you now have a clearer understanding of the roles and functions of the Disaster Preparedness Committee and the roles of the coordinator and how they engage with communities like yours. Remember, disaster preparedness is everyone's responsibility.
Business, yes.
Let's take what we've learned tonight and work together to build a safer, stronger Clarendon. Share this forum, subscribe, and stay connected with Sorrento Resource Connector for more opportunities to make a difference. As you stay safe, stay strong, and have yourself a fantastic rest of the night.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
The Local Governance and Community Development Live Forum was brought to you by the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, working for you always. Visit the Serenity Resource Connector website at www.serenityresourceconnector.com. Subscribe for a weekly blog post. Join us again on Thursday at 8 p.m. Thank you for watching.